In this video, you're going to learn how to put an actual dollar value on attention. This is something that I've run into numerous times that I find is very confused, and people have no idea how to actually value attention. So hi, my name is Rob Witt. I run a team of over 30 people generating over $150 million in sales per year. I definitely know, I have lots of experience managing teams, running teams, with advertising, with delivery of products and services in a wide variety of niches, from consulting services to marketing services to all kinds of different things. So over the years, I've come up with a way of communicating this concept. This is something that I've never heard anyone else talk about. It's something that I developed entirely myself. I've never heard this in any book or any podcast ever. And specifically, this relates to many forms, but when you're doing advertising, you're spending a specific amount of money to receive a specific amount of attention. Now, everyone knows the value of attention these days. It's well publicized on social media, in books, and all these things, from Gary Vee to Grant Cardone to all kinds of influencers, marketers, classic guys, old guys, new guys, whatever it is. We understand the value of attention, and we understand that if you're going to launch any activity, whether it be a business or a nonprofit or whatever it is, you need attention in some way, and then you have to figure out how to monetize that. That is the basic building blocks of a business. You have attention and monetization, and that process, that juggling, is how you build value in the business. So when you're running advertising, you might think, well, how do I calculate how much I can spend? Or if you're managing a team, you figure, well, okay, how do I assign a dollar value to this role so I can adjust payroll properly? And here's what I came up with. Let's just say that you're going to divide up, you're going to create an arbitrary unit of attention. This is one attention unit, right? And I'm not going to give a specific amount of time to that attention or whatever, but everyone has this degree of attention. The value of that in terms of dollars can vary depending on the person that it is and where they're at in their mindset or their journey or whatever it is. So, for example, if I said, I want you to pay me $100,000 to have lunch with me, would you do it? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that lunch with me is worth that right now. Hopefully sometime in the future it will be, but right now it's definitely not. I would do it for much, much less than that. I'd probably do it for the price of a sandwich, to be totally honest. Talk to me in 10 years and maybe that'll be different. But right now, that's the truth. I would have lunch with you. Now, if you said, well, what's the price of having lunch with Elon Musk? Maybe it's a bad example because he's kind of gotten a very bad rap recently. Or let's just take any other, Jeff Bezos or someone, because they have access to so much money, the amount of value you might be able to produce with that 1 hour lunch is far more in excess of the value you might be able to produce with 1 hour of lunch with me. Or if you take someone who runs a successful business, like a 10 or $100 million business, what's the value of having lunch with that person? It's probably somewhere in the middle. So it's the same with advertising. All you're doing on different platforms, whether it be Google or Meta, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, TikTok, whether it's social media content, whether it's on Amazon, whatever it is, you're spending a certain amount of money to get a certain amount of attention. This is usually tracked in either impressions, sometimes cost per mil, which just means per thousand, or sometimes in clicks, depending on the platform. But an impression is just a unit of attention. Or cost per mil, same thing, right? It's a unit. It's a bigger unit because it's 1,000, but it's the same thing. It's a unit of attention. When I say unit, it means like a grouping of. If you're doing cost per click, like you do mostly on Amazon and Google, then that click is one unit of attention. It is one human being who decided to click on a button on their phone or their tablet or their desktop or whatever it is and view a site because they expressed enough interest in that click to spend their time observing that listing or that page or whatever it is. Same thing in social media content. It's the same thing. So how do I calculate what that is? So based off of the quality of the traffic, whether they're a Jeff Bezos or an Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett or whatever, versus a successful business owner in different parts of the journey, whatever it is, how qualified are they? what's their ability to pay. Also, you have to factor in what's the value of the product or service that I'm selling. So if you're selling a $5,000 service, you can afford to pay maybe even $1,000 in advertising costs to acquire that customer. If you're selling a $20 product, you might be able to afford to pay $2, which is still 10% of the total value. So you have to factor in, what am I trying to sell them? What's the value of me selling them? Also, what's the likelihood that they're going to buy? So if I'm selling RV parks, investment opportunity in RV parks, am I going to try to have a meeting with Jeff Bezos? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong, but I highly doubt he would be interested in that level of an investment. He's buying tracts of farmland, and he's building yachts and going to the moon and all kinds of stuff. So, the moon, but space. So I highly doubt that that's going to be the most qualified. Now, talking to a successful entrepreneur that maybe has made a few $1 million from a small business or something, that might be your qualified market. So based off of, so you can judge the relativeness of this based off of the relevancy of the keyword that you're tracking, and how qualified the audience is. So it's really important to know, where is this going to be shown, either on social media or whatever, or if you're running paid ads. If you're managing a team, I'll let this to a team now. So think about like different levels of skill and the different abilities of people to produce higher value activities. So that's still one attention. When you're hiring a full-time employee, you're paying a certain amount of money for 40 hours per week of their attention in most cases, right? So you have to figure out, what is the dollar value of this, because what will this produce me? So if I pay this guy $50K a year to do a certain job, that better make me probably at least 5 or 10 times more of that salary. So if I'm paying him $50K a year, I better be making at least $500K a year off of the work that he's doing, because that doesn't even factor in taxes for him, operational expenses, sales costs, marketing costs, all those other costs of delivery, product costs, whatever it is, right? All those other things. So you really need to figure out your economics on what, like if you're doing marketing wise, what's the value of the sale? And if you're doing employment wise, what's the value of this activity and the value of this person's production? Now that could be modified a little bit by, well, this person can produce lower value work, but many of them in a short time period. So some people work faster and slower, and they should be rewarded proportionately, in my opinion. That you should definitely have a system that rewards high producers and values those kind of people, because that is the engine of what makes the team run. So going back to our marketing example here, when you're spending money on a certain amount of advertising, and you're judging the value of your service and the quality of the prospect, and that determines the value of what you can spend for that product. So you need to do the math on that, and it is basic math. It's like algebra that I learned when I was 12, probably even less, 11 maybe. Anyway, that's irrelevant. It's very, very basic math. So if you have any trouble, please put a comment below and someone will help you with the math. It's very straightforward. I'm not going to break it down in this video because I'm outside. It's a beautiful day here. I don't have a whiteboard. Otherwise I would. Now the third thing that you need to factor in is not just the value of your product and the value of that attention unit, but like what is the likelihood that they're going to purchase? So someone might be very, very qualified but not interested, and so you do that math together. Google specifically, in many cases, Amazon definitely, they serve as auctions. In an auction, literally think of it as you're buying the attention of a specific person. Like when you break down your avatar or your ideal customer and you get a person a name, this is an exercise that marketers often do, and they say, this is Sally Jones, and she's 37 years old, and she has 2 kids, and her husband works out of the home, and she has a part-time job. They have a very specific avatar. Think of it as if you're buying her attention for 10 seconds. Now the auction may say that her click is worth $2, random numbers, okay? They may say that because of the other businesses competing for that attention, she's worth $2. But you know that based off of your product or your service, you can only afford to spend $1. Because you know that you can only, let's just say you can only afford to spend $5 to acquire one sale. And you know that you have a 20% conversion rate. So the 20% conversion rate means you need to hit 5 people to get one sale, 20%, 1 out of 5. 5 people, one sale. So you can spend, and so you know that you can only spend a maximum of $5. So that's either, so you know you spend $1 5 times and you'll make one sale. Hope that makes sense. Please, if you have any confusions about this math, please put a comment in below and I will help you out. So now the auction may say, well, the value of this attention is 2, because that's what other businesses will pay for it. And you say, yes, but my business is only a value of 1. So the reality is you can't afford that. You need to find other keywords that are less competitive or find some other way of getting that attention, whether it's on social media, organically, whatever it is, to bring those costs down. And there's many ways to do that. I'll cover that in a different video. But you need to figure out how ways to bring that cost down, and that's the only way that you'll be able to sustain your business. Otherwise, what happens is the market says, well, it's $2, and you say, well, okay, I'm going to pay $2. That's the going rate. But now you're spending $10 to acquire a customer because you still have a 20% conversion rate. So you're still spending 5 times 2 is 10. But if you know you're spending double what you can afford to, you're going to go out of business very, very soon. And I have seen this happen more than once. It is not a fun experience when you're selling a product and your advertising costs and your cost of delivery is too high and you're breaking even or maybe even losing money and the business fails because of that. These are market forces, guys. It's as cut and dry as your product costs. If you're buying something in China and importing it, those are hard fixed costs. And if you don't do the math, your business will fail. It does not make sense. It's the same thing if you're doing a service and you're going to pay someone. I was working at a company one time. They were a client of mine, and they had a bonus system for their employees, and they were bonusing their employees for delivering certain services. And at one point we did the math on it, and they were giving the employee 100% of the profit, even more than that. The business was paying them to deliver the service. So the company would make more money if they did not deliver this service. And it was helpful for the customer, so maybe there's some value there, but it made no sense. They had designed a bonus system that gave away all the profit to the employee. That doesn't make sense. The company has to make sure that they're keeping some degree of that back, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So when you're doing this, do take a look at Google, at Amazon, whatever it is. Figure out what that cost of attention is before you start breaking it down. Get at least some average conversion rates, right? Average conversion rates on Amazon are different than they are on a website. For services are different than they are for different things. So figure out what you can reasonably expect as a conversion rate, and then do your math backwards, and then figure out how to bring your costs down. But have that baseline, because when you start, you're going to be at the most expensive. It will come down over time as you build brand loyalty, you buy repeat customers, you build referrals. All those bring your ad costs down because they're free traffic. But in the beginning, you don't have that. You're starting off brand new. So make sure you do that math. Make sure you figure out what is the cost per click? What can I afford to spend as a cost per click? And then does that make sense? Now, in some cases, like I'm managing on Amazon or whatever, I will just lower the bid to my $1 because I still get impressions and I sometimes still get clicks. If other advertisers drop their ad budget or they run out of budget or whatever, I still can kind of gain some traction. So I'm not a big fan of turning off ads if they're relevant. If they're relevant. There's a huge caveat, if they're relevant. So it just kind of keeps it in the background and helps build impressions and build impressions and build impressions. So I hope that helps. Just trying to break down what you can actually afford to spend for a unit of attention. And again, I know this was very heavily advertising driven. It's a bit different than my usual content, but it's something that I've spent a long time thinking about. I spent literally millions of dollars on advertising. Most of my clients' money, not mine, to be totally for full disclosure. But I've managed it. I know what to do. I know what happens in different scenarios. And I've seen it go well and I've seen it go poorly. And if you don't do that math, it doesn't make sense. So just do the basic math, figure out what the value of the attention is, figure out what the conversion rate is for that keyword will be, get some estimates on that, figure out what the cost of the keyword will be, do the math on what you can afford to spend, and then match that up with the platform, what their cost per click is, and see if that makes sense for you. I hope that helps, guys. My name is Rob Witt. Again, I've been in business for, 20 years now in a variety of industries. In nonprofits, I've managed groups of 110 people, 120 people, managed overseas teams, managed local teams, remote teams, all kinds of things. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully it helps you to think with the cost helps to demystify things. There's lots of acronyms and things in advertising. If it's helpful, I'll make more videos on this content, on this topic. Please let me know. Thanks. Be well. See you in the next one.